We've spent a good amount of time now exploring Matthew 25 in the context of Jesus' teachings throughout the Gospel of Matthew. And I'm beginning to see the three sections of the 25th chapter as much more intimately connected than I did at first. I imagine entry into the wedding feast like a gateway into a new reality, the kingdom of heaven, where the logic of the dominant socio-political system no longer stands unchecked. Jesus doesn't want us to miss out on the opportunity to participate in this dramatically different way of living, but nobody else can do the work to prepare us for it. It's something we have to choose to live into ourselves. So the parable of the bridesmaids with their lamps tells us that we need to be prepared to act at a moment's notice, because even though it may take a while for the long-awaited celebration to really get going, we don't want to miss it. The foolish bridesmaids are left in the world as it is, with its greed and exploitation so clearly illustrated in the parable of the talents. And then we get to see these two realities side by side. The third section starts out with this dualism: sheep and goats, right and left, did and did not. But the heart of the message seems to suggest that such a dualism is false, because the ones who, without realizing it, managed to do the right things were the ones who did not separate themselves from the least of these, but acted in love and solidarity with them. Here we have an example of the already not yet aspect of the kingdom of heaven. We know that the kingdom of heaven is not yet fully present in the scenario Jesus describes because we see hunger and persecution, people without clothing and shelter who are lonely and sick. And yet we get a glimpse of the already of the kingdom through the actions of the sheep. They don't act in order to gain rewards for themselves, but simply out of compassion and solidarity with those who are in need. Their actions alleviate difficult situations for those on the margins. Jesus is not pronouncing a sentence of condemnation for the sheep so much as calling the disciples to attention, that they and others who would walk in Jesus' way need to be continually attentive to the needs of those who suffer. His hope is that the goats might be transformed in order to live in solidarity. To quote from the Bible Study Guide, "We still have time to get our act together. Transformation is possible for those who recognize what Jesus is saying and understand where God is coming from, God's kingdom. It is our hope that the PCUSA will align with the sheep so we may be transformed and become agents of transformation through Jesus Christ." So I invite you to reflect on the following questions. How do you feel about the image of the least of these? In what ways do these compassionate responses of the sheep address, or fail to address, the prevailing systems and institutions that oppress the least of these?